Equality versus equity. Equality means every child gets a pair of shoes. Equity means every child gets a pair of shoes that fit. That means every school district has to meet every student's individual needs.
I'm Jerry O'Green with the Black Student Advocate. We advocate for black employees and black students within the K-12 school districts. We hold school districts accountable to make sure that black students and employees are in a fair and equitable workplace.
Peace. Welcome back to another episode of Humanity Works Podcast. My name is Jihad Messiah Youssef. This is the place where we bring it sexy back to the everyday hardworking men and women who impact your life within close proximity, rising above this madness which is called black culture. Recently, I was watching this episode on Netflix called Quarterbacks, where they was featuring Patrick Mahomes. I think it was my guy that played for the Hawks, Mariano, or whatever his name is, Marcus Mariota. Sorry about that. And Kirk Cousins. And I specifically remember in this one episode, Kirk Cousins was talking about his childhood with his father. And one day him and his father was having a conversation. His father pretty much breathed life in him and told him that he could do whatever he wanted to do. And Kirk Cousins said on camera, he said, when I heard my dad say that I could do whatever I wanted to do, that's when I knew I would make it to the NFL. I knew that I could be whatever I wanted to do, all because of what my father had told me. And I got to thinking, that's very powerful because, this platform is really based for black men to do self-evaluation, self-determination, and sometimes self-realization to make us better men for the sole purpose of being fathers. The most important thing that we're going to be in this life are fathers. And when you look at adults throughout society, whether they are a person of notoriety, great fame and fortune, you will find out that a lot of people are dealing with traumas, and most of those traumas are really sparked from the childhood. You would absolutely be amazed and blown away that if you was to ask that individual about that childhood trauma, 9 times out of 10, it was something that somebody told them as a child, whether it was a mother or a father. But right now we're going to deal with fathers because fathers do have a powerful impact as well as the mother. And, I want to give a shout out to anybody who no longer has a mother or father. Before I say anything else, I give a shout out to you. You're always going to have my deepest sympathies and my condolences on a loss like that, because once you don't have them, you no longer have them anymore. And just a side note, I was recently in St. Louis at a funeral with my younger cousin, and my cousin did a family thing, what I call a family move. And she checked me and told me that I need to be patient with my mother and father because they are up in age a little bit. And sometimes I have been impatient with them. So I want to thank you for that. Just on the side note, thank you for being true family, because that's what family do. And I accept it and I receive it. But I got to thinking about some of the things, like I recently had to apologize to my children because I realized as a young father, I had a lot of toxic ways. And what made me realize that is the way that I parent the youngest one, the youngest baby girl who's 7. Yeah, I'm an older guy with a younger child. I noticed I do things more gentle and kind with her. And so when I made the apology to my children, it did wonders for our relationships. But when they told me the things that I said to them when they were young, it just rocked me. It bothered me. Like, I couldn't believe I was just joking that day. But they'd be like, you know what, Dad, you might have been joking, but I took you seriously. I will never forget, if I had any idea that telling my son he had to go D1 because I wasn't paying for college would have affected him to the point where he felt pressure to perform to get a scholarship, I would have never used those words. And, some of the things that I said to my daughters that might have impacted them as young women, I might have been insensitive to something that pertains to them being young girls. And I apologize, but the power of words go deep rooted in a child and in an individual. And on that same weekend, when I went home, right before I went home to see my cousin laid to rest, I talked with another family member of mine who had told me about something that he had been holding in for years, almost 20 years old, something I said to him that impacted him and bothered him. And he pretty much was a grown man at that point. The point that I'm making is, as fathers, nobody has the perfect rules or settings on how to raise children. We all make mistakes. God knows I made many of them, right? But as men, one of the biggest responsibilities besides providing for these children is their psychological wherewithal, the psychological state of being and their mental health. You could tear that child up or you could break that child down. And my father always used to say to me, don't be negative. You know, even as a coach, don't be negative. Always be positive and watch your presentation. And a lot of times my presentation has been wrong. It's been off. My presentations it could have been hurtful. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I'm giving tough love. Tough love is kind of almost played out. What really is tough love? Ain't nothing tougher than a child suffering the trauma of a dad or a father, somebody they look up to and they love so much, to tell them something that can break them down so bad that they go all the way into their adulthood with those words. And I know it's to be true because there have been many people that I've crossed in my lifetime that have said something to me. And we could have had a 30-minute long, hour-long conversation, but it was something that they said in that conversation within 5 or 10 minutes, or just that one word, that one line, that one sentence that stuck. Just like my good brother Stovall, when he told me, don't nobody go through the things a black man goes through. And a lot of things, and a lot of times, and my father would always say as a child, that if he could be half the man my grandfather was, his life would be a success. Those words stuck with me. You understand? Or how my mom always say, I love you, baby. You know, she said it all the time. I think about you all the time. Those words stick with me. And how I knew I could be great, and how knew I could do whatever I wanted to do. So guys, it's very critical that when you speak to your child, you speak life into your child. You know, I told one of my years ago, I told one of my daughter's little friends, I said, man, you can never outlove me when it comes to my daughter. And he was like, well, what do you mean by that? I said, man, I didn't kissed on my daughter. I didn't loved on my daughter. You know what I'm saying? About hugs and kisses. I didn't told her how beautiful she was. I didn't told her how beautiful her hair was, her big, beautiful eyes, her dimples. I told her everything great. So what you gonna come behind me and do? She's not going to lack for your love if you walk away. She's not going to desire for your touch if you walk away, because she felt the masculine energy from her father young, and I built them up to where now most men, you know, a woman's going to love a man, but it's not too much that a man's going to do to really penetrate my daughter to destroy her that bad when she's already had that prerequisite in her own father. Or when I tell my sons, hey man, you the greatest man walking the planet. They going to hear it from me before they get to the school systems, and the school system's going to tell them something completely different. The school books, the history books are going to tell them something completely different. The police officer is going to tell them something completely different. That doctor, when they land on the table, is going to look at them completely different. Do you understand me? The teachers, everyone. But it's our job to build our children up mentally and psychologically. Raising a child is different from providing for a child. Providing for a child is simply what you put in their mouth and on their body. But raising that child is what you put in them mentally and psychologically. And I want to give a shout out to that brother in Kansas City, Missouri. I can't think the brother. They never mentioned his name. If they did, I didn't catch it. He was on the Roland Martin show, and he was dealing with people when he take his children to museums, and that's a great parenting. But he was followed by staff. Racial profiling. But then to come to find out he's a published author as well as his children, and that he takes his children to those museums. Brother, I want to give you a shout out. I don't know your name. He's in Kansas City, Missouri. If anybody knows him, tag him in this. But brother, shout out to you. Kudos. Great parenting. I want to give a shout out to all the great fathers that I know, because I don't want to make this a negative thing. I want to make this a positive. A lot of you all are doing great jobs out there, man. And some of y'all guys are younger than me. Y'all really inspire me. Y'all inspire me. You still teach me ways of parenting my child even at 50. Some of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Some guys just got it. Some guys just know how to show them children love. I made a lot of mistakes. I try not to make as many mistakes no more, and understand, even as a coach, I have to learn when I have these little girls how tender they are, because at times I find myself being a little hard. I do. But I'm always pick these girls up and let them know that, hey, you have to understand how the world views you, but I'm going to tell you who you are in reality. I'm going to tell you what you mean to me. I'm going to tell you what you mean to your parents. And I'm going to tell you what you have to mean to yourself. Be careful of what you tell that child. Don't ever tell your child you hate them. I don't care how much y'all argue. When they get in them teenage years and they want to give you that ass a kiss, and your son think just because he's 2 inches taller than you, he could take you, whoop his ass, but show him love. Pick him right back up. Or ladies, like y'all daughters, you know, God forbid, I'm just Peaches and Tiffany when she get over, because we got that Leo child. That Leo something else. Even when you deal with these young girls, make sure you do your best to pick your daughter up. She ain't nothing but a second coming of you. And I tell parents all the time, I can't stand to hear a woman call her son niggas. nigga. I can't stand that. I can't stand when I hear a mother call her younger daughter that little bitch. These words are damaging. And in some households, I see it's so common that it doesn't even impact the child. Not consciously, but subconsciously it does. Because when that child goes out in that world, that child is going to be a reflection and move on what their mom or father has influenced them to think of themselves. So your words are powerful. I tell my kids all the time, you can be whatever you want to be. I don't want you to be what I want you to be. I want you to be what you want to be and be the best at it. And I'm proud of you no matter what. If you fall down and make mistakes, I'm still proud of you no matter what. And I will hope, and I will say this too, if you have older children, have that conversation. Is there something that I said to you when you was young that impacted you to this day? And I guarantee you, they're going to pull something out that closet. They're going to pull something off the shelf of their memory, and they're going to bring it to the light. You know what, Father, now that you bring it up, yeah, you did. And you will be shocked what they tell you. So fathers, men, it starts with us first. And let me say something like this, man. Let me make sure that this platform is understood, that this platform is for all fathers, not just black fathers. Even though we have a unique history and we have a unique reality that we have to parent our children just a little different, but this applies to all men, no matter what race, no matter what ethnicity, no matter even what your sexual orientation. We know there's a lot of same-sex couples out there, men raising children. Hey, there's no judgment here, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that child and that you speak life into that child. Speak life into that child. And even when you discipline that child, find a medium and a middle ground to discipline them in love and compassion and patience. It goes a long way. And there's going to come a point where that child seems like you're no longer valuable to them. They're going to give you their ass to kiss. They don't want to pick up the phone to call you that much no more. They don't, instead of answering, they respond by text. Don't take it personal. It's just a little phase that they go through. This is a different generation. But make sure you are always conscious of the words that you use. When you get a young man whose father told him that he can do it and he can achieve whatever, and he believes it, he executes on it, that's life and death in the tongue. You bring to fruition what you speak. They say words create worlds. Always keep that in mind. Love on them babies, fathers. It's on us. And you know what? Let's learn also, too, how to mentor each other. Give each other tips and advice on parenting. Because, sometimes I ask questions. Hey, man, what do you do with your child in this situation? What would you do? You know what I'm saying? How do you speak to them like this? It's okay. Because each one teach one. Fathers, man, we have to form a good community and a fraternity of doing better with our children. We're going to create or break our children. It starts with us. A mama's going to be mama. A mama's love, you can't top that. But a daddy's influence and a daddy putting a belief in their child, that's a lifetime forever. All right. As always, man, I thank everybody for sitting in with me, man. I really got to get somebody to work these controls because I really don't like to look down and look away or whatever, but I always thank you all for sitting in, man, to hear anything that I have to say. I'm just like that old song, man. I'm just a nobody, man, trying to tell everybody about something. Or like the old song, just, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody named Jesus. But I'm nobody special, man. I really am, man. I'm speak from compassion. I speak from conviction. And I got that guidance and that direction, man. And you have to know your assignment in life. I know what my assignment is, whether I'm speaking or whether I'm in the community performing works. And that's something I don't put in blast. I don't believe in boasting about the things that I do for people. The body of work, and I did a show like this not too long ago. The body of work is in the bodies that I'm surrounded by, right? You could do something, you can invest, and money runs out, but what you put in the individual, it's your hereafter. When you're long gone, your influence, your power, and the love you leave in another individual, it still exists and lives on forever. And then you can impact that person to impact other people's lives, all right? Oh, excuse me. All right, man. Hey, listen, man, I want to see everybody be great. I want to see everybody do good. Hey, this is the place where we bring it sexy back to the everyday hardworking men and women who impact your life within close proximity. We want to rise above this madness, which is called black culture. And the biggest mistake that you can make is to think that you have time. Until next time, peace.